Hello, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a flip through of Writer's Toolbox. Writer's Toolbox is a writing curriculum that I use with my two. And today I'm going to do a flip through and to see if you may be interested in Writer's Toolbox and you just wanted to know what it was all about. Okay, so let's start. Let me push this back some so I could turn the pages. Okay, Writer's Toolbox. Pretty colorful cover. I love it. Learn how to write. Let me see if I can get a little closer as we go over this. Yeah. Okay. We have a glare. It's had a little glare. Learn how to write. Letters, fairy tales, scary stories, journals, poems, and reports are all in this particular Writer's Toolbox. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the table of contents. Once upon a time. This is about writing your own fairy tale. Next, we will be talking about Sincerely Yours. This is about writing your own letter. Next, Words, Wit, and Wonder. This is about writing your own poem. It's All About You. Writing your own journal. Share a Scare. Writing your own scary story. Just the Facts is about writing a research paper. So the first part, let's look at the first chapter, Once Upon a Time. It gives you an overview of what writing fairy tales are about. What are fairy tales? It goes into a fairy tale of its own. As it goes into the fairy tale, it breaks down every part of the fairy tale. It breaks it down for you and the child. It talks about the setting. It talks about the characters, the plot. As it goes through the fairy tale about Little Red Riding Hood, it talks about the dialogue. What is dialogue? It also talks about fairy tales often gives a warning. All these tools are breaking down the fairy tale. They call it a tool. Tool 6, it talks about a fairy tale usually contains magic. It goes on and says a fairy tale, the characters are usually filled with greed. Beautiful pictures, as you can see. And your child is reading a book of Little Red Riding Hood while they're also getting a chance to break it down and learn about different parts of writing. It goes into tricks. I'm just going through the first chapter very detailed so you can get an idea of the tools and how it breaks it down. It also goes into the reader usually knows the secret and the characters don't. So that makes it very interesting. And it continues with the story. Beautiful, colorful pages. Repetition. Talks about how words are repeated to make the story more interesting. And also talk about the mistakes that was made. All right. It talks about the problem solving. And Little Red Riding Hood, what happens through the luck of magic. And finally, the last tool or breakdown of a fairy tale talks about pleasing. A pleasing end. It usually ends with a good ending. A nice ending such as living happily ever after. So that's the first particular unit. Then it goes into a review where it reviews all the tools or the breakdown of a fairy tale. It gives you exercise that you can do. It gives you exercises that you go look for objects. You talk about the words. It gives you tips, writing tips. It talks about the characters and the dialogue that was discussed. That was unit 1. Unit 2 goes into writing your own letter. It breaks down the letter. Still using colorful pages. Talking about the heading and the body and the closing. Everything is very colorful to keep the child engaged. Then it goes and breaks down the components of a letter. Each breakdown is labeled as a tool. That's unit 1. It continues to do that until it goes through the whole entire body of the letter. Let's see. You can see the last page of that particular letter. See, this breaks it down. Tool 7. Then it talks about different parts of different types of letter. A business letter. It talks about all different types of letters that you may write to someone. Still using the same setup of breaking it down tool by tool. It goes into a review. Hope you can see the pages. Goes into a review. It goes into the exercises. This one particular exercise says pick 2 characters in a favorite book and pretend you're the characters. Then it gives you some writing tips. Think of a letter as a little bit of you going out into the world. So it's want the child to think that what they put down in the letter is a representation of them. Then each chapter does the same setup. This is a chapter about setting up for a poem, the breakdown, the tools that you would need to break down a poem. Again, beautiful, beautiful pages. It has a poem on each page, so your child is learning poetry, different poems on each page. Okay. It talks about journaling, breaking down journaling, where your child learns how to write down their thoughts and the importance of journaling. Talking about emotions and decision makers, the ideas, pros and cons. It talks about how journaling doesn't just have to be about writing. It could be about drawing pictures in your journaling and the representation of pictures. And then, as usual, at the end, it has a review. It talks about the tools again. It gives you an exercise, and then it also gives you tips, writing tips on journaling. Then it goes into a scary story. So this is important right here because it tells a child how to write a story, not just a scary story. Again, it goes into the tools, the breakdown of a story, the dialogue, how to do the dialogue in a story by using quotation marks when someone is speaking. Then it goes into, again, let me go back one page, the review, the breakdown, the tools that you need to tell a story, the tools you need to write a great story. It goes into the exercise again, and then it gives writing tips about telling the story. This particular writing tip talks about using your 5 senses in order to tell the story, giving details to connect to the audience. And in the research, it's talk about using facts, same concept. It gives tools, sources that you may use, brainstorming tools. The conclusion, same concept. Each unit uses the same concept for each particular type of writing. The bibliography, how to do a bibliography. Let's review. Here go the tools again. The breakdown, it goes over each tool you use in order to do the research paper. Then it gives you an exercise to do. And then it gives you a writing tip on how to do a research paper. And then at the end of the book, oh, excuse me, my dog. Let me pause on that.